All right, we are now recording.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Keeping Entertained with Kelly. Now, you may notice that I'm not Kelly. I am Jeanette. I'm filling in for Kelly this week, and I am very delighted to be here with our guest this week, local author Katherine Fawcett. Hello, Katherine.
Hi, Jeanette.
So happy to have you.
It's so nice to be here with you.
Now, Katherine, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
How much time do you have? Sure. I'm an author, and my latest book is The Swan Suit, a collection of short stories. It was released to zero fanfare in March, but it's been a fun journey. So this is my latest book. I wrote another book 5 years ago. Was my debut short story collection. This is The Little Washer of Sorrows. I almost forgot the name. So those are my two books. I also I double as a musician, and I teach strings at the Whistler Waldorf School and the Squamish Waldorf School. So hi to all my music students.
And of course, you play with the Sea to Sky String Orchestra as well.
We've got a rehearsal tonight at 7, so that's where I'm going after this.
Now, are you doing distance rehearsals or virtual? What are you doing?
No, we've started. We had last month. We started actually having rehearsals with in person. Our stands at a distance, wearing masks in a large space. So,
how's that?
It's so nice. It's just good to be with people playing music.
Yeah.
In any way, because I've really missed that.
Yeah. I get it.
I know. It's really that. So yeah, it's nice to be back.
Nice. And we sort of have a theme for today's session, which I loved as soon as you pitched it to us, which is reading with SASS.
That's right.
What is SASS?
Well, I just thought of that because it's short attention. What? Short attention span syndrome. That I think, actually, this is something that is not like, oh, with COVID, I just haven't been able to focus. I've never really been able to focus on a large project book. I have plenty of big, comprehensive, and deep books that I've read some of.
Yeah.
I mean, I can plod through, and I've enjoyed some long ones, but I really tend to the shorter books because I just love being able to have that intense experience. I love short stories. I love, books at around the 200 pages is a really sweet length, I find. So I've got all these different piles of books. Shall I start digging into them?
Sure. What category will we start with?
All right. Well, I'm going to start with the category of novel that not short stories, but the actual novel that's short. And the one that made me think of this, having a focus on short stories is this book, I Am a Truck. This was a Giller Prize finalist, I think about 5 years ago, wasn't it? Anyways, Michelle Winter's book, Canadian author. And I love this because it's so Canadian. It's so Francophone. There's a lot of French in this book, and all you need to have is high school French in Canada, and you'll get it, and you'll hear that French way of speaking. The French is not translated, and it's not even in italics. It's just woven in, and it's a great story. So I loved I'm a Truck, another Canadian author, and the Scotia Giller Prize winner. Oh, look at that. Is 50 Dogs.
Yes.
Honestly, this is one of the best books, and it's short, and it's like, oh my gosh, I love this. 171 pages of awesome. And if you haven't read or heard of it, well, you probably heard of it, but if you haven't read this, because I bought this and it sat for a long time before I actually read it. I don't know why. But when I got into it, I just adore this book. And then these are two that I want to mention. Two more Canadian authors. Andrew Kaufman, All My Friends Are Superheroes. There we go, Sophia's staff pick. And this one, Charles Demers, the comedian, Property Values, about property and drugs and, Vancouver things. So those are some of my short novel choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any short novels that you want
Yes,
to come out?
I have two that I'll mention,
Okay.
and
All right.
continuing the CanCon theme.
Yeah.
Geez,
Yeah.
we're very predictable. The Marrow
Oh
Thieves,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is just over 200 pages, but I think it still counts, especially because it's YA.
Yeah.
Loved that, and having Cherie Dimeline at the Writers Festival last year was, oh, she was so wonderful, so
Mm.
wonderful. So that one is definitely on my list.
She's
And
got a
then
new one out too, right?
yes,
Yeah.
she has Empire of Wild out, which
Yeah.
is definitely at least twice as long. So we can't talk about it today.
I'm sorry, I can't talk that. No.
But I also have Moon of the Crusted Snow
Mm.
by Wab Rice, and he is going to be at the Writers Festival this year, right? Just announced this week.
Mm-hmm.
We weirdly, have you read this?
No, I haven't. I want to.
Weirdly, this was our February book club book, which is why I have all these
Yeah, I was going to ask.
tabbies. And I mean, essentially, it's about preparing for the end of the world, and it was just very weird timing. Yeah, so it was the last in-person book club meeting before everything shut down. So,
Wow.
yeah, love that one.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a rather next category is short story collections. I have a rather tall stack of short story collections. I've got, and I separated into short story collections and short story anthologies. So short story collections, I'm going to start with one of my favorites. This is a classic. And I just I read Angela Carter and just try and memorize her sentences and paragraphs. When I'm stuck in my own writing, I literally like open up to one of her stories and start writing by hand, copying her paragraphs because I love her style. These are all just haunting fairy tales, horror and feminist and beautiful. The Bloody Chamber, that's amazing. I'm going to go through these quite quickly.
Go for it.
Moccasin Square Gardens, Richard Van Camp, so good. That's a good one. Carly Baker, Bad Endings. That's a good one. This is new, and to be honest, I haven't read it yet. Not fair. The End of Me, but I read this one. This is back on my shelf. Kilter, 55 fictions. These are flash fictions by John Gould, and same as this one. So I'm really looking forward to reading his flash fictions. I think he's at the teaches at UVic or anyways.
Now, for the uninitiated, how would you describe flash fiction?
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah.
So extra short stories.
Extra short stories. They usually, and like they're almost prose poetry, but they're quite like usually maybe 3 pages is about the longest of flash fiction. Like 500 words, I think it's usually. So they're just like wow. That's why I love it. Okay, here's a non-can-con. One of my favorite non-Canadian authors is Edgar Carrett. And this is one of Nimrod Flipout is, I know, if you've never read Edgar Carrett.
I haven't.
Here's another one of his. I keep sneaking back. I'm like, oh, there's one. Fly Already is another really good one. He's often featured in the New Yorker and in some of the American magazines. He is fantastic. Some longer short stories. He's Israeli.
Okay.
It's his writing is hilarious and heartbreaking and tragic and just beautiful.
Okay, I've got to put that on my list.
Couple of other non-Canadians, but this is really good. Her Body and Other Parties.
I've been hearing good things about that.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, this green ribbon on the front I just saw it and was like, oh, I remember the green ribbon. Not to give too much away.
You intrigued me.
Yeah, and then of course Neil Gaiman is one of my very favorite classics. This is a well-worn copy of Fragile Things, his collection of short stories and some poetry and other stuff like that. This is, I don't know. So, I mean, everybody watches, seen The Office and knows. I don't know if you know the creator of The Office is B.J. Novak.
Right.
And he's that guy, the weird guy in the background who, I don't know can't remember his character's name, but anyways, he wrote this book of short stories called One More Thing, Stories and Other Stories, which just sounds like the most boring title. Stories and Other Stories. It's brilliant. See, I've got it all. It's So good.
You know, he has a great children's book called The Book with No Pictures.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
It's so good. So I'm not surprised, honestly.
Mhm.
He
Uh,
contains multitudes.
oh yeah, he's really good. Yeah. Um, Karen Russell's Orange World. I love Karen Russell. She's a wonderful short story writer. I
Mhm.
love her novel Swamplandia, but this is just classic. It's
Mhm.
really good. So Karen Russell. I and then yeah, I think that's probably it. That's a okay. What's your collection? Tell me about your collection of
Well,
short.
I mean, I have these two,
Ooh.
you know,
Where
just by
can I
some.
get one? Where can I get those books, Jeanette?
Oh, well, you know, I think I bought both of them at Armchair Books in Whistler.
In Whistler. Oh, Dan would be
Yes,
happy to.
imagine that. And hey, Dan will deliver them to your house if you live in Squamish. So definitely recommend both of those.
I think.
And hey, since I've got this on the screen, let's mention that Katherine's book, The Swan Suit, is going to be our book club book in October. So if you want to join us for a discussion of this collection, and then Katherine will be joining us for the meeting, you can email me, jbruce@whistlerlibrary.ca, to sign up for the book club meeting. It's
That'll
going to
be
be real
so
fun.
fun. Mhm.
And then what else do I have? Oh, I grabbed this.
Oh yeah, I love
Welcome
that.
to everyone. Love Lisa Moore. I think I saw when I was in St. John's, I saw her at my favorite cafe working on this book. You know, she tends to write in cafes, and so I was like, oh, what? I wonder what she's doing over there. And then this came out shortly after, so I
You know, the sex scene in the shoe store.
oh good.
Yeah, in the closet of the shoe store was the best ever, right?
It's incredible. I mean,
Incredible.
what a collection,
Yeah.
and you know more CanCon. And then of course, I
Mm,
pulled out this one,
got to have that one.
which you said was one of your faves as well, right?
Mhm.
I just love Heather O'Neill's fiction in general, and I you know when this book came out, I wasn't a huge short story fan yet. Like I hadn't drank the Kool-Aid yet, but this was a good gateway for me. And I
Mhm.
will say it's technically like a longer book, but
Mhm.
you can cheat because the stories are short. You can read one at a time, put it down if you want. But these are delightful.
Mhm.
That's what I've got.
Okay. Um, now I'm just going to dip into a few anthologies. Like you said,
Yes.
these are bigger books. So, but you may look at it as a project, but really I see these anthologies as just take it, treat yourself,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Hmm.
So it's a big stack. I'll start with one of my favorites, Juji Gardner, who has a new book coming out in September. I can't wait to read Beguiling. Darwin's Bastards. This is like a beautiful list of Canadian authors, and they're all sort of futuristic parallel universe, weird but wonderful content in this. Astounding Tales from Tomorrow. That's really good. I don't. This is keeps on beeping. And I'm afraid if I do something to adjust the blip blip blip, I'll
That's
like lose
okay.
you.
It's a
So
live combo. Things happen.
yeah, things happen. Um, McSweeney's Enchanted Chamber of Astonishing Stories. These kind of books, like from the McSweeney's collection, they're really good. So there's some great stuff in here, and this is all. I do. I don't. I'm not like wouldn't consider myself a full-on sci-fi nerd, but I do like to dig into the weird
Yeah.
like that.
Ditto.
Uh,
Ditto.
yeah. This one is brilliant. It's called Fakes.
Hmm.
This is an anthology of pseudo interviews, faux lectures, quasi letters, and found texts. So
Oh.
it's all I know it's all fiction.
Hmm.
They're all stories, but you look at it and it's like, oh, this is a police report, and it reads just like a police officers weep, for example. There question and answers, quizzes, letters to report cards that are documents made into fiction.
Very
So,
cool.
so it's brilliant.
Hmm.
Here's a great anthology edited by Kate Bernheimer. It's got the best title ever. My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. So you got to know it's
Yeah.
going to be good. It's a fiction from Amy Bender, who is so good. One of my favorite. Kelly Link.
Mhm.
Some of the best names in short fiction
Mhm.
you can find in here, and these are also fairy tale inspired. They've got that classic sort of
Mhm.
the good characters, the bad characters who you can tell, and then there's twists and those classic turns of evil. And then from the outer limits of literature, invaders. This is a good one. Catherine Dunn has a great story in this. Catherine Dunn, you'll remember from Geek Love, which was
Mhm.
probably one of my favorite early books.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's my anthology stack.
Nice.
Anything?
I don't have any anthologies.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't own any, but clearly I need to do some catching
Oh,
up.
anthologies are really fun.
Yeah.
Anthologies are really fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I guess the last thing I wanted to, I thought if we ran out of time, I would talk about cookbooks, because cookbooks are fun to read.
Mhm.
So complete Indian cooking. This you can read in bed, and this is really nice. Whitewater, of course,
Oh
that's
yeah.
the Whitewater series.
Yeah.
And I mean, reading cookbooks is such a great thing for short attention span.
Mhm.
You read it, you think about making it, you never do, but they're really fun.
Yep.
The Thug Kitchen, these Thug Kitchen, it's all vegan,
Yep.
and they're filthy. Like the
Yep.
language is, you can
Mhm.
see.
Yeah, we
Uh,
like that. We like that.
they're so funny and they're so good. But the other source of shorter fiction that I really enjoy is magazines.
Mm.
Canadian literary magazine scene is super strong
Mhm.
with magazines like I just pulled a few. Malahat Review, Event. I love Subterrane.
Mhm.
That's a good one. Prism magazine, Grain, Prairie Fire. Like there's
Mhm.
a lot, and these magazines is how that's writing for these magazines was how I got started in
Mhm.
fiction. So,
Cool.
and there's a lot of emerging, really
Mhm.
strong emerging
And
talent.
Catherine, where do folks find those literary magazines?
Well, you can, some of this, I know that I'm pretty sure Dan carries some at Armchair, but many bookstores in their magazine, if it's got an extensive magazine
Mhm.
section, you'll find those literary
Oh,
magazines.
okay. Awesome.
Um, yeah, and they're well worth picking up.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and I also love the fiction that appears in like the Walrus, the New Yorker, Harper's,
Mhm.
and just a little thing. I was cleaning out or cleaning up and throwing out. And I cannot bring myself to throw out some of my New Yorker and Harper's and old magazines, but
Mhm.
I don't want to keep them around anymore. PM me anybody if you want some because I'm just giving them away. So seriously, we'll figure it out.
Well,
Especially if you live in Squamish or Whistler, we'll figure it out.
and that's a good moment to say that people can follow you on Facebook, right?
Sure can.
Yeah, so if they search for your name, Katherine Fawcett, they will find your account. They can follow you.
Mhm.
And hey, hit her up for some New Yorkers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely
And I
would.
guess that's a good place for people to find out about events you're doing, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Now that you mention it, thank
Mm.
you for mentioning it. Do have some events coming up. I will be um, at the Vancouver Writers Festival, except for I'm going to be doing it from right here in my little office. But that's okay. It's going to be a great experience, and I'm looking forward to being a panelist on at the Vancouver Writers Festival. That's in October. Also in October, the Whistler Writers Festival. Yay! I know. I can't wait. It's going to be different this year, but it's going to be fantastic. It's a go ahead, and we are working hard.
Totally.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun, and there are a few other events that I'm doing this fall. So yeah, follow me on all my social media.
And again, if you want to join us for a discussion of Catherine's book, The Swan Suit, in October, it's the last Wednesday of October. I don't have the date planted in my brain, but whatever the last Wednesday of October is, that is when we will be discussing The Swan Suit with Katherine there. This is, I don't know if I told you this, Katherine, but it's only the second ever author visit we've had to our book club in,
What?
in 5 years, 5 years, yeah.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
Yes, so you
I'm
are.
so delighted.
Yeah, we're very
I
excited
thought,
to have you. And I don't know if I told you this either. We read Moccasin Square Gardens
hmm,
in June,
hmm.
and that was our first ever short story collection.
Oh, that's a good one to start with.
And essentially at the end of the meeting I said, "Hey, how do you guys feel about reading more short fiction?" And they were totally game. And so it's such a great fit to have you and your book being featured in
I
October.
think I thank you for saying that, that sometimes people, because I think sometimes people have a bit of a wall up, like you said before.
Mhm,
You read Daydreams of Angels, you were
mhm,
like, short stories. It is sometimes like, I love a good strong book where you can
mhm.
dig in, and
Yeah.
night after night or day after day you experience the same, and you get
Mhm,
to know those characters really well.
mhm.
So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a longer novel. I mean,
No.
this short attention span thing, whatever, it's a gimmick to get people to watch the recording we're making, but there is something to having that quick dose
Mhm,
of fiction.
mhm,
um, and I sort of like to have a longer book on, you know,
mhm.
longer book at the same time as I'm interspersing it with short stories.
Yeah, I
So
totally
I'm glad
agree.
that you mentioned that whole short story, and getting
Well,
people to come on board with them. Yeah.
yeah. My other thing about short stories now that I'm, on team short story,
Uh-huh.
is that, sometimes I think this happens to everybody, but let's see. So, sometimes you finish a big, juicy novel and
Mhm.
you have like a hangover from that novel and you're not ready for another tome.
Relationship. I know.
And that's where short fiction can be perfect.
Right.
So that's
It's a long
another.
marriage versus a couple of boyfriends
Exactly. It's a fling.
sometimes.
Amazing. Well, if you, unless you have any last
I
books
do.
to share with us, oh, go for it, please.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Catherine's mom. Is she watching
Calgary.
from Calgary? Very nice, very nice. All right. Well, thanks to Catherine's mom for watching, and thanks to everybody else for watching. I know we have some of Catherine's friends and family watching, and thank you to everybody who's been watching this series. Actually, because I know I've been tuning in every week to watch Kelly's conversations. This is our last episode for a little while, but we're hoping that the series will relaunch in the fall. So please stay tuned to all of the library's social media platforms for news about that. And I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Mhm.
So thanks for being here, Catherine.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.